Action. Okay, so we are gonna need a Windows virtual machine. I don't recommend you run it on your regular PC because it contains malware. It's always good to test things in a protected environment. So I created the virtual machine for you. It's on the drive, so you can copy and paste a folder over to your desktop, which I have. Okay. And then we can download. What I'm gonna do is, let me see. So ideally, this is the trick that as you are gonna download, when you're looking at this document, you're gonna download the PCAP. If you enable your USB, it's actually easier to transfer. I had a USB, but I had left it on my desk at home. So I'm gonna show you how you can do that. Okay. All right. So we're gonna first open up our virtual box. We're gonna click add. And when you see that message, just hit cancel. We're going to browse to the desktop where I have my virtual machine folder. And if you run it from the USB, just browse to the USB. Open it, open its subfolder, and then open the VBox file. But before we start, we gotta make sure that we give it some juice and enable our USB, because otherwise you have to shut it down and then do it and then reboot it. Just save some time. So first, we're gonna check the system. I created the VM with 8 gigs, so that's okay. And then the processor, did it say 100% for real? All right, so just make sure that you can have it at 100%. Just make sure that it's 4 here. Okay, so if you have more core, you can give it more core, but 4 is good enough. We're not doing any kind of attack intensive things. We're just running monitoring tools to look at malware. Okay, then we are going to go to USB. This is where you can add your USB. So if you have your media flash drive that you save your homework on, we can click add. And I have one that's called generic mass storage, which is the one that I normally give you guys at the beginning of class. So I'm just gonna go ahead and add that. So what I did was I click on USB, make sure 3.0 is selected. You can only do this if your VirtualBox has the tool packages installed. If you don't install tool packages from Oracle, it's a separate download and install. You will not be able to modify this. And then I just click the add, which is the plus sign. When you do that, it's going to give you this option. Just find your USB storage, select it, and click OK. And then we're going to go ahead and click start. So it's going to power up. We went through all of this. You are going to use username and, oh, sorry. Sleepy, right? The username, you don't have to type it in, but it should be CIS41A student. And then the password is CIS41A with an exclamation point. And it would be helpful if I Zoom share on here. Recording just black screen is no good. Okay, so I added my virtual machines. I modified the configuration. I showed you guys how you can change your USB, but make sure that we shut it off while doing that. Machine settings, USB, and then you can add it. Okay. All right. Kept the, yep. Okay, so once we're here, we're gonna log in. I prefer that you use 41A. Yeah, because if you are not, other students are you. I made sure I copy every single drive. I've been here since early this afternoon, so you should have it. If not, okay. So I had put all the PCAP stuff that you need on my Google Drive because, you know, that's the easiest way. I didn't want to drop it into the machine. So if we were to start from scratch, this is what we do, right? So first, let's talk about NetworkMiner. NetworkMiner, some of you took my forensic class. You've seen this before. NetworkMiner is very cool for forensic. It's one of the best ones, even the free version. So all you need is a PCAP file that can be captured from Wireshark or other tools. But you can also use NetworkMiner to capture, but it doesn't have all that graphical user interface like what you see with Wireshark, but it's good for you to evaluate. When you open it, it looks almost like Nmap, right? Okay, so it's good to use NetworkMiner. This is important. This is the clue. This is your information. The network segment range, it is a class A address, so 10.8.21.0. This is their network address, and it's a CIDR 24. Okay, so that's gonna go from .0 to .254 usable address, but not 255. This is a broadcast. This is a broadcast. So it starts with .1 and to go to 254. The domain that's registered or the DNS is going to be techsolutions.info. The controller, the server name, right? Your DC, whenever that you install DNS and you promote it, it becomes the domain controller. And that's Pizza Bender DC. And its IP address is 10.8.21.8. Your gateway, which is your router, is the .1, and the broadcast address is .255. Okay, so we have to find out which system got the virus or the malware, and what kind of malware it is. That's the game. Okay. So when you go in here, what you're going to do is you are going to open up Edge. And it's going to ask you for this. This is actually Microsoft Explorer, right? We don't want Microsoft Explorer. It's full of boo-boo. So we are going to click accept and download to get Edge. I normally save and then run. So just make sure that you install Edge. With that, you are going to click accept and download. Or I did that again twice.
It's saying it can't open the same. Oh, it's bad. No, you already. Have you said it? Okay.
We got it? Okay. So when this pop up, this is our firewall working. We're going to click yes, right? We are going to disable Windows Defender only because on Windows 11, Windows Defender is equipped with the AV or the anti-malware tools, which block you from testing the malware. So I have you, we first got to install Edge in order to download NetworkMiner. You don't need the actual link. If you want to type in the link, you can. But I'm going to, you can just Google search NetworkMiner download and you can find it. I'm gonna cancel the second one. All right, so Edge is installed. We're going to start without any additional data. I don't want them to record all of that. Okay, so once you agree and accept and all of that, we're going to access the browser. I'm gonna go ahead and Google search. And I'm going to look for NetworkMiner. So you have two options. You can pay for the proprietary version, which has a lot more bells and whistles, but we're gonna do the free one today. So click the download free because I'm not paying $1,200 for the the professional version, right? For the lab, so just get the free one. Once you have downloaded that, you simply go to your downloads folder and then choose extract. Where now I have downloaded the NetworkMiner. It is a zip file. So I'm going to right click and then we're going to choose extract all. And then click extract. That's all you need. So inside the extracted folder, you will see that there is an application file in the middle. It is there. It's just the exe. It's an executable file for you to run. Unlike Wireshark, where you have to go through major installation process, right? You can simply run it like that. Okay, so I had downloaded this. If you actually visit some of the malware analysis website, you can find a lot of really cool practical, exercises. But this is password protected. So if you click on this outside, you don't have to be in the virtual machine. And if you have your USB enable, you can transfer it without having to type in that long URL that I embedded. Okay. So when you get here, after the link, you just click downloads and it's downloaded onto my host computer, which is what I'm using to play the virtual machine, right? And then I go to downloads and here's my PCAP analysis. I'm just going to right click and we're going to copy and I'm going to put it onto my now not seeing USB, but let's try another. Sorry. It's always questionable here. There. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put it onto my external hard drive. You can put it onto the external hard drive. That's fine. And then I'm going to go back in here. Let me see if I can activate it. Okay. So I'm just going to add the USB and see if it recognizes it. You can do that while it's on. Okay. Now inside the virtual machine, we're going to go to this PC. And it looks like I have to restart because I just added my USB. But while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and download Wireshark for the second part. So you're going to need Shark for the second part. We're going to go ahead and download and Windows installer. So once that's done, we're going to install Wireshark. Because I'm going to have to restart anyway. So we're going to click noted, next, keep everything default, next. If you want desktop icon, you can click that, next, next, next. and install. So I'm doing two software, NetworkMiner first. I downloaded and extract. Second software is Wireshark for the second part C.
Just you already extracted, right, when it was locked? That was it. It didn't even so bad, I don't think it did. Lay it down.
Any questions? Or do you need help?
Yeah, especially like this, it was missing two. It needed that. Oh, second.
Okay. So it's doing its thing right now. After I restart my computer, I can transfer my file with my PCAP. You need to extract the pcap.zip file, right? As you download, the reason why I kept it as zip so you can download it quicker, instead of the pcap raw file. So we are going to extract it by just right clicking it and then be able to do that. But you can enable two-way copy and paste on the VM if it works. Okay, let me see. So my Shark is almost done. And then, yeah. So you need to install, because they installed the application on the outside, but you can't view the PCAP file accordingly if you run it on the outside, because the antivirus will lock it away. We don't want that. We want to see the malware.
But how do I get to keep the PCAP file inside? Yeah.
Put it on USB.
On the
So
second.
yeah, so I enable the USB. Now I have to restart it. I gotta make, you have to do it while it's off to take effective of the new USB that you plugged in. But if you already enable that, you can try enabling it. Okay, so I'm gonna reboot. And you can go to machine settings and then USB right there. You just need to add. And then, you know, if you want to use your external hard drive, Element or Casio or whichever that you have plugged in. You gotta reboot as in the inside the computer. So click the power button, like the start. Yeah. Just like how you reboot your regular PC. Let me see if it works now that I restarted. So my recommendation is to use the USB option so you download on the host machine, put it on the USB, and then plug the USB into your virtual machines. And that's the easiest way. Or you can log into Canvas on the virtual machine and then download the lab and click the link. That's another way. That's the easiest way. Probably. Let me see. Mine is still not seeing. Why is it not seeing my USB? Let me remote this guy. Yeah, I had no problem yesterday. My controller went dead. You see that? Yeah, I think they have a script for these tools and sometimes it fails working. So I'm gonna log into my Canvas. So we can log into Canvas, make it easier. Let me pause the video real quick. So we access the document and then we downloaded the PCAP that we need. Once you have that, then you would continue with the exercise. So I have access Canvas inside the virtual machine. I was able to download my PCAP. If you download the zip one, you got to extract it as the instruction tells you to do that. Then you need to turn off the security on your virtual machine. And so you can simply right click Windows button, go to settings, and then go to network and internet, because Windows 10 and 11, everything is equipped inside your firewall and Windows Defender. So you just go down to firewall, you can turn everything off. So if you turn the domain, oh, it's not connected anyways. Turn that off, click yes. It's weird that it got disconnected. Okay. All right. So I was able to finish the security changes for my virtual machine by changing the firewall, turn it off. Then to run your NetworkMiner, go to your virtual machine. I'm going to go ahead and close this now. And then you are going to open up your downloaded, extracted NetworkMiner. If you need help, you need to stop me and let me know. Open this up. And which application to run? You should see, it should say application. It's like near the middle in the extracted folder. So if you run it before extraction, you're going to get an error. So make sure that after we download NetworkMiner, we right click and extract all. Okay. So open up the application. And it's going to look like this. Now, we need the 821 PCAP file to be loaded in here. So we just click files. Oh, I'm sorry. File at the top and then click open. And we're going to go to downloads, right? And we're going to do the 821 for the NetworkMiner. So this is a capture that you would see from a network, the domain that we would see from Pizza Bender and the 10.0.8.21 network. So once you import, when you bring in the PCAP file, right, you notice that there was a little threat notification. It says, hey, I found a virus. You sure, right? It's still going to notify you, but you should see all your capture information. So NetworkMiner gives you how many systems are talking, how many files are being exchanged in the conversations of all those systems, and even credentials. You notice that this is Kerberos. It tells you what is his login and his password in transparency, right? I just lectured in 27 the other day. I was like, yeah, Kerberos is really secure. Well, as secure as you can make it to be. So yeah, you can see its password and so on. So once you open the PCAP file, take a screenshot, look at the host tab. It should tell you the number at the top. Here it shows me 54. These are the systems that are talking, doing that capture. Okay. Those are the systems that are connected to the network and sending packets back and forth. So 54. And then how many files were identified? So if you click the files tab, right, you can count this up, but it gives you a count already at the top in parentheses. That's 136. I think it's more. They might have locked it away. But anyway, So answer the questions, and then we're going to click on the credential tab. So in here, we're going to go into credential tab. And we would see the username, Matthew Jones. And it tells you which system he uses or he logged in. So he has a desktop Windows system, and he logged into the server, which is the 21.8. And his IP is 10.8.21.163. It's very important that you record, right, which system is logged into which system. So he has a desktop. This is his IP address on the left. The server information is in the middle. That's your domain controller. That's your DNS. And then the user account that he has and the password for that user account. Okay. All right. So is the password encrypted using Kerberos or NTLM? You see what it says on there. It's either Kerberos or NTLM. So yes. So on the network, right, his password is stored using NTLM. And that's used for handshake challenge for authentication token. For the desktop system, the client itself, as he logged into it, Kerberos is enabled there. So you see the password is transparent, even though he's logged into the network through his client computer, which is the desktop PC that you see on the left, the name of it here. Any questions? Okay, so we see the credential, we see what system, right? Click on the host, locate the desktop, and you can expand. The great thing about this is when you come back to host, if you expand, here's 163, right? We know that that's Matthew Jones' computer. If we expand it, it tells you the MAC address, the IP address, the network adapter, the host name, the OS is Windows. We don't know which version, and so on, right? How many packets were sent? That's what I love NetworkMiner is because it gives you a very quick summary. Wireshark has a statistic in its capability, but you know, this gives you the overall look, so it's clean. And then the sessions, and so you can also expand and see the session information. So answer the question, what is the MAC address of that computer and the operating system? We just know that it's only Windows. We don't know which version. And then we can expand further. So if you, oh, it does say XP right here. So if you expand OS, it tells you the release. Then on the bottom of that submenu, we are going to expand host details, and it tells you more, right? The browser that he uses is Mozilla. The browser agent, second one is going to be probably Internet Explorer because it's Windows XP. And then it tells you some of the hash information. Very important that you record hash details, right, on your report. So put down the NetBIOS information, the Kerberos username. We already saw that, the NTLM username. Okay, any question? So we want to see how the malicious file get to his computer. So earlier we saw the Files tab, right? Did it crash again?
I don't know. No worries, there's a way around it. What we can do also is make a short URL and that way you can just type it. Not your so Google some route and just put short URL.
Or tiny URL.
And URL.
You can do that too.
Going to that.
Okay, so on the Files tab, you can filter out this IP address. The reason why I put down this IP address is because if you look at the host tab from before, right, let me move this back. So the IP address that we're looking at is 45.12.4. It's this one, right? If you look at if you want to make sure, take that .com information and you can go into your search engine and you can try to find it. If it comes up with some weird website content, right, likely that is a suspicious site. But so like Bravo Casa, that one looks suspicious. 45.12.4.190, that one looks suspicious. So you can also look at the compensation that these systems have. So on the files, if you filter that, if you put in the IP, it's going to show you what files is served from the IP. So 45.12. 4.190. So there is the .cab is the file that was sent. So whenever that you work with Windows malware, you often see that it is .cab, right? What else? It is a DLL. You guys know what DLL stands for? Dynamic Library Link, right? So that is related to systems process. What else? Sometimes it would be like in the second one, you would see that it would be a different type of file, but often you would see that it's a file that can impact systems. So often it comes in a .cab. So, or executable, right? .exe, .dat, DAT. That's very popular with the malware for the Windows world. So I find the file now, and it came from port 80, which is an HTTP, right? A non-secured website. And it gives you the timestamp. Okay, see how? So here's our file and the details, right? That comes from, it tells you from the .com and then the extension of that website, and they're running PHP. Okay, so it got downloaded from that website. So put down the information, the file name, the file size, source, host address, the port. We saw that port 80, UTC timestamp, destination host address, and the file. So we need to expand it. Just scroll right and you can find more information. Okay. So when you approach this, you would also see, so in the network capture, we have to take a look at what domain would be suspicious if it's downloaded, right? If the malware is downloaded, we have to take a look at what website did they visit and which file was served to that client. All right. Then you are going to right-click the file and you can right-click the file.
Where do you do that?
I'm sorry?
Or where do you write the file go?
Why do I need to do that? Because,
Where do you put-
yeah, I think they disabled this. I remember last semester I ran into the same
File
problem.
details.
Yeah. Oh, did I? Yeah, file details?
But if you have to tell the virus team to tell it, say, to not quarantine it, to restore it.
Yeah, you have to. I did this also, and I forgot to write you guys the instruction for this. So on the threat found, when this pops up, you're gonna go to the security. It tells you that this is a Trojan. And then on the action, just allow on the device. When your little virus threat thing pop up, because this is why I tell you need to do this in a VM environment or a protected environment. So you would click it and it would bring you to Windows Security. You can also search Windows security settings, and then expand this, go to action, and then allow on the device. So with that, you would be able, let me see, to see the file
But that's
information.
blocked, you could allow.
Yeah.
Alright.
You made it sound so easy. Allow a virus, allow a Trojan on your system.
That does sound crazy.
Yeah, it's not letting me though. Let me see. I want you to see. So your hash is important because, so okay, you don't need the hash to submit it to malware websites or malware detection website. You can actually submit the file itself, but the hash is important for reporting purposes. But right now, like, I'm not able to get it with the free version. I think they disabled this.
Yeah, I clicked on it, and nothing's happening.
Yeah, they disable it, you guys. Did you get it?
Yes.
What happened with me, I went to the messages, went to, thread,
Oh, yeah, there might be multiple, huh?
and I hit restore it and
Good idea, Varo.
It's also MD5, I think, though.
So click on the little notification message box. Let me see. Go to settings. Click on the message.
The threat quarantine. That one.
Oh, that one, yeah. I forgot to do that one. I allow it on earlier. So this one, if you run it on your regular computer, you know what happens to your credential. So it's a Trojan.
Oh, I got it.
It's a Trojans, and this one I'm gonna give you a hint. It's an ICE ID. So if you look up ICE ID, you would know the behavior of the ICE ID. So it's a real Trojan. All right. So Alvaro recommended that you click on the notifications and you would see these messages. I forgot to have you turn off your virus protection, but under that, you can go to threat quarantine under severe. And then on the action, did you select restore?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, click restore and then click yes. Yeah, remove, otherwise it's just gonna quarantine.
Oh, you know what? I haven't created numbers.
All right. So now let me see if we can. Yeah, so I guess you can see the file details after you disable the AV. Go here, click on the virus notification, go to severity, protection level, and then change it. So here it gives you all the hashes. So the SHA one, so the SHA 256 is here. And then the MD5. So we know that the source and the destination that came from the server and then it went to the desktop. So click the little message box. It's going to open up your security settings and then you should allow the threat and you would restore the severity threat level. That would let you see the file details. So if you right click and it doesn't pop this up, it's because your Windows Defender is blocking it. Okay. So put down the hash, the last write stamp. So the last write was August 21st, 2020. And it happened to be at 8:04 a.m. So it happened early in the morning, probably first thing when they open. If that company opens at 8.
Okay, sorry, I just think that's. I go back to that thing.
Okay, cool, right?
I like on the NetBIOS thing.
If you keep expanding the submenu for the under hosts, like for the NetBIOS, if you go to NetBIOS, find the 163, the 10.1, this computer.
Yeah, I only, yeah, right there on host details at the bottom. Yeah, that bar. I only see the NetBIOS.
Yeah, NetBIOS. So the query NetBIOS is this part. It's part of the regular host name.
Would I put all of them or just like the
Just one.
piece of them?
The first one is fine.
What about the Kobo's username?
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
The Kobo's username. So,
the NTLM. username.
The Kerberos username.
Probably, but I don't know.
Let me see. So user one is this. I think it might, if you look, yeah, it's on credential for sure. If you look at the credential tab, instead of that, you find it. But I think it's listed right here as user one.
Uh,
Yeah, if you go to credential, you see it. But I think they used to put it here and then now they moved it. So slight change, but it's okay. Okay. All right, now we're gonna filter on another domain, right? It could be that there might be multiple malicious website that he visited. So back to, it tells you to go to look through the IP address like this one. And you can always use like website reputation sites to be able to validate those type of sites or public IP. You can use who is and find who's registered for that site before visiting it. So we're gonna identify all the addresses that look suspicious because we're not sure that it could just be one or many, right? So put down the 45 to 147. Let's see what else, which other one. So if you go back to hosts. So we know that this one we looked at, this one we looked at. The live.com, the Skype, those are okay. This one looks suspicious. The 89.44. So the suspicious websites allow us to filter down to something that we need to further investigate, right? So you would write down the IP addresses that you would look into. Or the domain. Let me see any other things. Okay. So once you have a few websites that are suspicious written down, then you can start building out your report, right? Put down your name. So just add it into this field, put today's date that you started looking into it 4 years later. I put down some hint for you here to look at the number that, so the timestamp, we already wrote that down earlier. The affected system, you already know that Ken Jones system, the PC that you looked at, the impacted account, his account, Ken Jones. And then the IP address, the MAC address, we wrote all of that down earlier. So as you find the information for the affected system, you want to write down very clear detail on the network IP address, the physical address, which is the MAC address, the computer name, right? I had you import all of those things because it tells you the services also enable on that system. The file that was downloaded, because we will need to quarantine that file, and then the hash. So in 2020, that particular Trojan might not be very well known, right? But a lot of people had reported it. So now it is right away. Microsoft Windows would say, oh, it wants to quarantine that. Okay. So in order to have it seen, right, tested in the environment, you have to to let it ignore. And then for the next part, it says source domain. What is the source for the host address of the domain? We know that the malicious sites, where was it? I had you search for it earlier. This one, right? And as you expand and looked at that file earlier, it tells you where that site's come from. But if you expand this, you would see that this is a Cisco system. So you know that it's not appliance. It's not a regular PC. This is the, like, when it was released as a MAC address. So very useful information that you can find from that particular system. Question.
How do you calculate UTC?
It's shown in UTC.
I'm doing like a reporting date, that's why.
Yeah, if you go into the credential, the time that he logs in, the timestamp. So it was 3:04 p.m. So what does that mean? We saw earlier that it was 8:04 that the malware was in the network, right? Yeah, it shows UTC right here. If you look at your login timestamp, that's the UTC. But you can always use an online converter to convert it. Like ask Google. Okay, so put down the source port. And the protocol, 80 is HTTP, right? It should include that right there. The suspicious domain that you had recorded in the last few steps, put those down. What are your recommendations to prevent future malware infections? That's pretty obvious. If you've taken 2725 before, we know, right? Just make sure that we have antivirus application installed on Kenneth Jones and all the other client PC. You can also run that from the server standpoint. And then regularly have it update or do live scans as it is connected to the network and the internet. Educate the users about safety, website safety or internet browsing safety. There are plenty of things that you can list that we have learned before. So include your recommendation here. This is your money maker right here, right? And then we would report that file to VirusTotal, so that way, because it would come up as malicious, so you can submit it to VirusTotal. Any questions? Any help? So in order to see the file, right, this file, we gotta disable the AV block. So you might see little note here. You can go into,
How do you find the hash?
Look at it, yeah.
I'll show you.
And then you can do that. YouTube.
yeah, you have to disable the antivirus block in
Oh, reload first. Reload case files. Type it in again. And now it's also we got remove the thread, so like thread found. makes it
Okay,
disable.
questions? Okay, so we're gonna do something that's very recent. If you attended the
Oh, yeah.
apprenticeship conference last
Right.
semester that we did, right? You probably heard of the FBI presentation. I actually will show you the malware that they're talking about through traffic today. So on the Wireshark section, you're gonna see that malware. Okay, once we're done with this part, we're gonna go ahead and run Wireshark for the second part. So make sure that we download and install Wireshark. With that, it's gonna require you to install additional software tools for the sniffer. You need to download the unit 42 quiz pcap zip file, and this is the February 2023. So I have downloaded it already earlier when I click on my link here, right? It takes me to my folder on Google Drive. So I have it under downloads. And I had downloaded this one. So you can download it, the zip one or the non-zip, the pcap file. So once that happens, we are going to open up Wireshark, and then we're going to load in the pcap file. Make sure that it is already extracted because you cannot load the compressed file into the application. So open up Wireshark. And then this is the capture. So we're just gonna go file and then file, open. For me, I have it under downloads. So I'm gonna navigate to downloads. And then we're gonna do the Wireshark quiz. Okay, so this is now Wireshark. The best way to approach investigation on Wireshark is through filter. Filter query right here. Filter criteria that you put in here. That's going to give you the specific information that you need. Okay, so I have the capture. What I need to do is I have to think about how the malware got into the system, right? Our objective is to answer the question at the end. What time has the infection started? Which IP address, very similar to the last one, the MAC address, the host name, the computer, the account name. What kind of anything else that the malware, because some malware, it would stop and then it would keep on sending out information to servers. So these are the questions that we need to answer. Basic questions, right? So we need to know how it got there. And the easiest way for our malware to get in is through download. So we need to check to see if it was downloaded through HTTP or HTTPS, right? So when you get to this point, what you would do is in your filter, I'm going to lower this so we can all see. We're going to type in here the criteria. Or TLS.handshake, because for HTTP is under TCP and it would require some kind of get act, right? Send an act. But for TLS, it needs that handshake requirement. And if you're not sure, you can also go to analyze, filter, and then it would give you the filter table template, and you can type it. Type. And we would say equal EQ1. Oops. And not SSDP. So if, let me check, I think I have it type wrong. Or TLS dot handshake dot type equal. I'm missing a parentheses. That's right. Oh, I don't have an S. Sorry. Long day. I was like, I double checked these. These are correct. All right. So you have the filter here, and you notice the source. This is going to jump up right away. So you know that this is the system, right? This is a system to pay attention to, the 136. But it's connected to several websites. One is with HTTP and the others are TLS. So this is a way that we can filter. So screenshot this. What's the source IP address? That's the source IP. Then what we're going to do is we are going to take the first entry, and as you click on it, on the bottom, you need to click the Ethernet 2, okay? And you can change the view to this by dragging this so you can see everything, right? But when you click Ethernet 2, if I selected this particular packet, I can expand on it, and it's gonna tell me the source MAC address. Okay, because this is the source. If I click on this, right, it's the same thing. So where's the MAC address? It will be here. So if you click the first packet or you click the fifth packet, as long as the source is the same, you under Ethernet 2, right, you would see the source information. And it's this in the parentheses, the MAC address. Then we're going to clear the filter. So to find NetBIOS, which is how the system can be referred as names, if it's an older computer, I normally would suggest, bless you, getting NetBIOS information or checking the system because it might not even use IP address. So you can use NetBIOS, and NetBIOS can go up to 255 characters. It uses ASCII. You can also check for BNS traffic, or also server message block. Sorry, I'm a little dyslexic today, a little tired. This basically, you know, we use a lot of this when we're using video conferencing and other things, if it is enabled, right? So we're gonna filter and we're gonna search for this. So in Wireshark, once you clear, you click the little X and you're gonna type in NBNS or SMB. This is how you can find specific service, or SMB2. If it's green, then so here it tells me these are the systems that are using these services. NetBIOS, SMB, SMB2, and it tells you all of that here. So we're gonna locate this is not supposed to be 09. It's gonna be the 149.
Yeah, this was for the month of February and just for March one.
Huh?
There's two quiz ones.
Oh, yeah, I probably mixed them up.
That's okay.
But we are going to look at the registration information. Oh, you mean I loaded the wrong PCAP?
Not wrong, just different. There's two. There's a February one and there's a.
Yeah, so yeah, I downloaded the wrong PCAP, you mean?
Yeah.
Thank you. So I've been saying the wrong IP address all this time?
What's that? Everything else is correct. Same algorithm, yes.
Okay, so yeah, this is the February one. I downloaded the April one. Probably same, almost the same PCAP, but they modified a little bit. Okay. Let me reload that. Thank you for noticing that. So for Wireshark, first I need to extract. And infected. Okay, so now we're good. History open Wireshark. Okay, I have the February one, which is intended to be. Okay, let me refilter this so I have the right information. Okay, so I'm gonna refilter the request or TLS dot handshake dot type equal EQ1 and not SSDP.
So there's no beginning parentheses.
Yeah. Okay, so same source, right? 149. We see this, so we open this up. You can see the Ethernet 2, your MAC address. Yeah, the other one for the April, that one is an HP. This one now sees it as an Intel, so different MAC address. Okay, slightly different if you're testing the April one. That one is also a malware. This one has the, so you still have the same procedure. Doesn't matter which file you use. So for February, you would see that it is an Intel for the MAC address. Take a screenshot. The source IP address is the same. So we see that it is, well, slightly different. This is a 110.0.0.149. The other one is the .4.8, I believe. Then we're going to clear out the query and we're going to search for NBS, NBNS, or SMB, SMB2. Missing the OR operator. So here, once you have that, you would see we are going to search for the actual name of the system. So we know that it is the 10.0.149. So if you scroll down and you look on the right, you would be able to see. And it will not be the Intel. So if you go down to the bottom where it says registration NB, right? This is the easiest way to find the desktop name. So it's not the bottom, but find the registration NB packet and you would see the desktop name. You got that? So if you look for 10.0.0.149 as a source, look at registration NB and you would find the host name, its computer name. So we did 45, then we're gonna clear the filter. And then we're gonna do Kerberos. So we know that it is a Windows system, so we're gonna do Kerberos.cname string, which it comes up as a suggestion. We can click that or press enter. I know, press enter to apply. So we are going to click on the source, the one with the 149 IP. And then you have to expand. So here, in order to see the C string name, you gotta go from, so click transmission protocol source port. I remember it was pretty deep in, 1 second, let me find it. I think it was under, no, it was under transport. So this packet might not have it. Oh, that's not the right one. Let's find the TCP. See if it's able to get from LDAP. We gotta find the packets that have the information. Because all of these are used. I remember it's under the transport. So transmission, so TCP. So it should be. It's buried like in the sub section. I tell you guys to go to the last entry. I think it's this. Sorry. You see the packet information. Fine call, acknowledgement. If we sort it. Okay, Let me see, maybe. So scroll down some more when you do the CNAME string value. My system is not responding. It's doing that. So we're going to check. Let me see if I can find it. I'll show you guys. 1 second. Oh, see, okay. So if you find the packet that shows KRB5 with the 149 IP address, on that you would see Kerberos right here, and then just expand it. And then in that, you have to keep going. I think it's like, if you go all the way in the required body under padding, it shows the encryption data. So the cipher key information, you can find that useful there, but so look for ASREC. Keep alive. Yeah, so you have to keep expanding. I think it's under. So I have S name. Hold on a second. But look for the packet that says KBR5. Like this. From the .149. And then you would need to did you see it?
Yes, 764 last one I found. I had to restart Wireshark and reintroduce it so that key RB5s showed up, and now it's the only one that show up.
Oh, really? You can filter it by sending.
Yeah. The last one I found in mine was number 764. So, like on the left, there's a numbers, like how they come in. 764 is the one I found, and I found the string, which is gaming bells of power.
That's right. That's the username. So if you can find the CNAME string, that's the user account that's logged into that system. But look at the packet. If it doesn't show up for the KRB5, you gotta. Alvaro said he reopened the Wireshark. So sometime, these things, sometimes they're touchy. But under Kerberos, you just gotta go, you dig into some of the sub information. You keep clicking. Let me see. It is satisfying when you find things in a haystack like this. It's forensic, right? So you should be able to find the CNAME. If you find this CNAME string, that's the user account that's used on Wireshark. That's how it shows it. Okay, but look for Kerberos packet. I can't give you all the answers. You have to find some for yourself. Okay, next one. We're gonna do the filter for the request and this. Earlier we had additional criteria, so now we're gonna filter it less. So we're gonna do HTTP requests. And are going to exclude SSDP. Okay, so you should come up with a couple packets like this. Take a screenshot, answer the questions. Now, the second one is not of a concern because it is only a get. The first one is suspicious. Why? Because it has the .crt right here. You see? That's a digital certificate pass. So we want to find this, and it has some SHA information here. So to get the timestamp, you just need to view the packets. You can double click or expand the bottom part. If you, I think under the frame, it should show you the timestamp for UTC. Okay, so it tells me that February 3rd at approximately 5:25 or close to 5:26 p.m. Okay, UTC, this packet was sent. Or this packet entered the network, as you can see. Arrive at the network. Then we can right click the packet, and then it tells you to do a follow. We're gonna follow the conversation to see who's talking, who's sending or receiving that packet. So you can right click and you can choose follow. And this is TCP, so we're gonna do TCP stream. It's gonna take a second and it's gonna give you all the information here. What type of server, right? If you look, it tells you the agent. This is likely for edge agent. And then the server information is here. Okay. Then what we're gonna do is we are gonna scroll down. If you see anything that's an MZ, and it says this program cannot be DOS, which I might have. Let me see if I can, probably not this one. So for content disposition, if you see any kind of 2-character at the end or this, it's just that would indicate the DLL. But it is not. Yeah, I think I tested the April one that shows the MZ. It has a .dat. So let me go back and refilter the. I'm gonna refilter. 50. Yeah, so I think this is So if you look at it, if it shows something like this, like a DOS cannot run in DOS mode, that's a dynamic library file or an executable file. So let's see if this is a malicious file, right? We are going to click on Wireshark file. So once you close, and so with the packet selected, which you have the digital certificate here, we can go to edit. Oh, no. You guys say file and export object. And then we're going to select HTTP. So you notice that that's the malicious file right there, the .dat. That is a DLL file. And it also has a certificate, so it can bypass some of the security system this way. So if once you have that file, then you're going to, so this is the screen, right? We're going to click it, and then you're going to click save, and you can put it on the desktop to examine it, or put it in a folder somewhere you can find. So I have you save it to the desktop and then click save again. So you can save it to the application itself, but it's better if we put it on the desktop so you can find it, or a folder. Okay, and then we close. You can do this two ways. One is through command prompt, or you can use a PowerShell command. Because it is a CERT, right? It's cert, you saw that earlier. It is a certificate. You are going to use Windows certificate utility and to examining its hash. So this is a way that you can expose the hash file, just like how in NetworkMiner, you can right click and then calculate the hash. We can do it this way through command prompt. Okay. So open up your command prompt CMD. And you are going to do cert util hash file C users CIS41A student. Make sure the directory is correct. Desktop 86607.dat. And we want the SHA-256 hash. I'm missing an A. Did it not save? I thought it did save.
Again with the virus defender,
Oh, did it block it?
Yeah,
quarantine again.
Oh, boo-boo.
once you unquarantine it, and a lot of action.
But you know, it's weird because I tested the same virtual machine at home on my laptop, and it didn't do that. But maybe I must have disabled something. I was halfway asleep when I was doing it. So. Yeah, I must have clicked the message. Okay, so if you are having if it's generating an error that not found, it's because it's quarantined it. So click on the message, click the threat found here, go into the security settings. You are going to click on severe. We're gonna click actions, restore, click yes. It's gonna put that into the
Right, yeah, let's go.
Yeah, because if you remove, it'll be deleted. It will be contained 100%. Yeah, so you want to click the message and then allow it so we can actually have the file. And then we can try that again. Okay. So it tells you successful now that it didn't quarantine. I gotta write those steps when you guys leave so I don't forget. So here's my hash value, right? For that malware. Then you can open up your browser inside your VM, go to virus total. You can submit the hash or you can just submit the file. So choose file is the easier way. I'm gonna go to desktop, put my .dat in there. First total is gonna wonder why there's like 28 or 25 submission of the same thing. Okay. Yeah, so once you submit it, you're gonna see this is a crackbot. Right? If you read about crackbot or heard the FBI agent talk about crackbot, the operation crackbot, well, there you go. You found crackbot. So, but there are variation in it. You see, there's crackbot, there's some of them are backdoor, some of them are Trojan, some of them are kind of encompasses, some of them behaves like it because it's been modified. But the closest one, I think, for us is the Trojan crackbot. So there's some variation. Max Secure, I think this is the closest one that we would see. So overall, you would get the Trojan or the backdoor, and it's crackbot centered, right? You would see that there's variation of it. And then if you want to be more specific, you can look at the time. Remember, we put down the timestamp on when it arrived to our network. So around that time span, it's going to give you the specific version of it. That will be the closest, I think, based on, without really digging into it, towards like a generalized analysis, I would say. Okay, then you are going to do the next part. So we're going to also look at additional traffic. So TLS handshake, we saw that earlier. So I'm going to close this. But you should have enough information to answer those questions at the end already, right? So this stuff is extra for knowledge, right? So here, we're gonna clear out the filter, click the X, and then we're gonna do a TLS dot handshake dot type EQ1 and not TLS dot handshake extension dot type EQ. Okay, so these are gonna give you all the systems are connected. We are going to select one, which is because it's 149. And then you are going to do statistic endpoints. And it's going to tell you these two. How many IP address? So you have 2. If you do IPv4, actually, I'm sorry, it's 4. It's self and then the destinations. Which ones is internal network? Anything that start with the 10 is internal network, of course. Right? Which one is external network? The other 3, because it's not 10 dot. They already gave you that for the LAN segment at the beginning. Then we are going to close this, clear the filter, and refilter again. So we're gonna do a TLS dot handshake dot type, and we're gonna do an EQ11 and IP dot address. ADVR is, you can do equal sign or double equal sign or an EQ. 102.156. Remember those address from before that we just looked at? 32.143. So we are now gonna dive into each one, right? So now looking at the packet, we are gonna go to transport layer security, and we're gonna look for information on the TLS. So for the transport layer security, we're going to expand, and you want to look for the certificate, which is the second one, and expand it. So your handshake information. And then expand the certificate, expand the truncated. So your RDN sequence is right there. And then you can expand the validity. So the RDN sequence section for the issuer. So you can expand. So it actually sequenced 3 items. And here is, this will give you servers information. Because transport layer is the layer that take, right, your encryptions and certificates and keys and be able to move that packet to from and to the right area. So what you would have is, it tells you the country name, the organization name, and then if you expand it more, so this is how you can find like who gave us that malware. Who produced or who introduced that back to the wild, right?
Would you find out things basically?
For this step?
Yeah, 71.
Yeah, so you have to click on the certificate one. TLS and then the certificate, and you keep going. So I went to certificate, signed certificate, validity, I'm sorry, subject, and then RDN sequence, and you have to keep going inside.
Oh, I see it now, thank you.
Yeah. It takes a little bit of finding. And then we're gonna investigate the third address, right? The one that we found earlier. So we are going to clear out the filter. Yeah, so you want the handshake layer certificate, and then you're gonna go handshake protocol under yeah, and then certificate truncated, signed certificate, subject, and you keep on going inside more. You find it, just expand it out. Yeah, make sure it's a certificate one. It's gonna tell you all of the domain information. And then for the next one, you would do the same thing, but change up the IP. So it's gonna be 208.187.122.74. So it tells me that this was sent from, right, to the 208 IP address to our system. So click transport security, click on the certificate one and expand it like what we did before. Under subject, so you would have the RDN sequence. So your organizational unit name, value. So the object ID is 2.5.4.11. For that one. And then the common name is following. So if you look at the RDN sequence common name, you can expand it and look at the common name. It's the same. It's PTVCD L.MOBI, MOBI. Then what we're gonna do is we're going to change this to the 5.75, right? So we're gonna look at the third one, 5.75.205.
It's just showing great.
.43. You have to ignore the square bracket. I forgot to delete that. So make sure we include the .43. So I only have one entry, and if you expand it earlier, it's gonna open it right there for you. Intuitive it is, the application, right? So you get the organization name and the common name. So the organization name, but this is different than the last one, you see? This one, the VIPsauna.com and the VIPsauna.com. And you also look at the distinguished name, it's all the same. So that means that it's coming from that web server. And then the location is in LA, California. So physically we can identify that, right? And this is the this is hosted. Okay, then we change the filter and we're gonna do the TCP port.
This one isn't good with this.
EQ 65400 and TCP dot flag EQ 0x002. So I only have one packet showed up, so take a screenshot. Right click the packet, we're gonna follow the conversation. TCP stream. Just like what we did before, right? And you have to look closely in this section. Sometimes you can see some plain text information that will tell you, like in this case, certificate authority information. A lot of it looks like mumbo jumbo, but you do see some trusted cert information. Sometimes you also see like public IP information. So it kind of shows you how you can go about looking at the packet and then extracting some of the details there. Okay. Which is from the payload.
Sorry, I kind of missed it, but did you see something about the brackets on 73?
73? No.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, just, yeah, no square bracket. No square bracket for 73. Make sure the IP address is complete. All right, then now we're gonna look for email things, right? SMTP is for your email server. So let's clear out our filter and then do SMTP. So we can also add rec.command contains, and this is now a string, so you have 5 packets, right? So our source sent to 5 destination. So these are mail servers. Okay, so that gives you a little taste on how to use a network capture and look for malware and look for where that comes from and so on. We did a lot today, so usually you guys take off by 8 already. Okay. So based on everything that you wrote down from earlier, answer this question. Date and time where the infection started. Remember, we find the packet, the arrival time. So scroll back up, look at your answer and screenshot from earlier. The IP address, that's obvious. We've been targeting 10.0.0.149. The MAC address, you wrote that down earlier. The host name, desktop dash blah, blah, blah. You wrote that down earlier in the prior steps. The account name, this is the scene name string. So if you didn't get that, you have to find that, right? Find the Kerberos packet and look deeper. And then, is there any following up activity? So the last few parts that we did, we know that it was impacting SMTP, right? It's also funneling in from the mail server side, the conversation on the mail, the SMTP. And then possibly when we did this one, you guys remember that it gives you that domain information, right? The domain, it's the same throughout. It's unlike the other one where it's a little bit different with the .mobi or and so on. So look at that. Look at the organization name and the value. And put down what you have learned about malware investigation in this class in this lab after this lab sessions. And that's it. That's all she wrote. So we stop.